Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Aaron for a very special discussion, a new discussion. It is award season, and today the BAFTA nominations have come out for, of course, the British Academy of Film and Television, and they're going to be on Sunday, I think 18th of February. Off the top of my head, it's the 16th or the 18th. I've forgotten which date, and someone's going to comment and say it's actually the 17th and embarrass me. But first of all, Aaron, how are we doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm doing all right. The BAFTA nominations have kind of kept me going all day, but yeah,
definitely. And for people wondering at home, there was no intro because I forgot to make one, and I literally got home like 20 minutes ago. So it's one of them. There will be an intro for the discussion on the night. As you can tell, we have a special award season intro, which is cool. We get to put all the posters on. It's done in a different way, and obviously we put the ones that with the most nominations at the front. So Oppenheimer is going to be at the front every single video for the next few months. But talking this, we've had a couple of videos recently. Me and Tate went live for the Golden Globes, a discussion on those after they took place, the nominations, like what we're doing with this one. We went live with Charlie on Tuesday to talk about the Emmys because the Emmys were moved into this award season. And we're just taking this award season not a little bit more seriously, but we want to try and open the conversation to something more than just Oscar Sunday. And obviously the BAFTAs, to me at least, are the second biggest awards of the year after the Oscars, respectively for film. I know that some people have other favorites of weird people have favorite ceremonies. Okay, cool. But to me, at least, as maybe more of a traditionalist, the BAFTAs are a pretty big one. Of course, we're British, so it is our home country's one. And I've got very fond memories of like attending BAFTA red carpets over the years, running around central London at 10 a.m. on the dot on a Sunday. Not good at all. But persevered, and victories came from that. If anyone has ever heard about that, it doesn't happen anymore because of ballots. But we are going to talk the BAFTA nominations. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through, I say the entirety of it. We have a document, and it has every category with the nominations within it. We're going to try and avoid it sound like a checklist, but at times it's hard to not make it sound like a checklist. So we'll probably be discussing it award by award. Maybe want to chat if there's a big snub, something we're really excited to see get into that category we thought maybe wouldn't have. Anything like that, it's almost an open forum for me and Aaron to talk about. And if you are watching at home, comment your thoughts on the BAFTAs, your thoughts on the nominations. Do you care? Do you not care? Did anything surprise you with this? Is there a film that maybe is dominating too much that you're completely shocked that it did? Looking at you, Saltburn. We'll be getting into that a little bit later. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's January. It's been a heavy few weeks of award stuff, and we've got another few weeks before the BAFTAs, the Oscar nominations are next week. So do stick around if you like the sort of stuff. You can get us on linktree.com/cinemasavvy. It's where we put all the links and where we announce our videos. And obviously subscribe to Aaron's channel as well. I'm going to update the description to get a link in there as well. Aaron at the movies. You did an amazing top 20 video for the year for 2023. Very jealous because you did 20 to 11. I thought, for God's sake, like at least someone's done it in a way where it doesn't make the video too long and it like pays respect to those slots without going into them too much. So people are curious. Check out Aaron's top 20. You also did a video on the Doctor Who specials and a few other ones. So yeah, it feels weird. I feel like I haven't put you on the spot. Okay, I'm going to pop you on the spot. We'd always ask, like, if we do a retrospective, we'll be like, here's a question. What's this? I'm trying to come up with a decent one in my head, but maybe we'll just stick with the BAFTAs. Is there a film, just without us going into it, that you're very happy about how it was received today on the nominations before we get into these categories?
I mean, there's two. One specifically that was kind of a given because I knew it would do well. And that's Oppenheimer. Because there have been some award ceremonies so far where, like, it's not been nominated for some awards or it's not won certain things. I didn't think it was going to sweep the BAFTAs this much, but then I remembered, like, oh, Christopher Nolan's British, half the cast is British, But I'm happy that's swept it. But the one that really pleases me, and it's not out in the UK yet, but this is one I saw at London Film Festival, is the amount of awards that All of Us Strangers has got, because I absolutely adored that film. It ruined me to pieces, but I loved it. There are some surprising omissions that we'll get into later in some categories regarding that film that do annoy me a little bit that they've been omitted. But then there are other categories where I'm like, yes, I'm happy so and so has been nominated, and I'm glad it's been nominated in this. But for me, that's the big one because it's an incredible film, and I'm glad it's getting the respect and the recognition that it kind of deserves.
Excellent. I'm glad you said that. Now, I didn't get to see it at the festival. I am the one who went to the festival and watched nothing. You can all thank Tate for the videos we did. I was at home building Lego, downloading and uploading the reviews to get them out so people could watch and listen for those that couldn't make it. But yeah, All of Us Strangers. I saw a trailer for the first time the last time I went to the cinema. I do want to watch it. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. I don't know a lot about it as well, which also not helps the illusion. This time of year, this is really strange thing to say. I prefer not watching trailers for like dramas for Oscar type films. I like to go in as blind as I can. Meanwhile, when it's blockbuster season, I will watch all the trailers, even if I'm sold to them. Not that I need to know. I need to know this. I want to see what's in the corner of the screen, but I also know I'm going to see the blockbuster trailers more. Whereas it can be a surprise with the award season. Although I'm going to say. The Iron Claw releases in a few weeks, of course, didn't get any nominations. I don't know if it made the cut to even be put forward. I don't know if it's on long lists or not for BAFTA, but that's going to be a big review because the trailer is just non-stop. The Tom Sawyer song, if you didn't already know it, you probably know it if you're a Cineworld member now. So it's one of them. But yeah, I'm going to that. And Oppenheimer, I agree with as well. It is the heavyweight, isn't it, this year? And that was kind of a BAFTA. I thought this was strange that before these nominations, I was like, yeah, I expect Oppenheimer to do well. Not just because of its quality, but it's a British director. Nolan's already been... they've already announced he's won back the Fellowship Award. I say he won the Fellowship. It's honored to the director, but there's they've already got the red carpet out before the nominations today. And I was trying to think in my head. I was like, in theory, he could. I'm not saying he will. He could actually leave with 4 BAFTAs on that Sunday. He could leave a film director, fellowship, and screenplay. I'm not saying he will, but I just thought like that would be like Bong Joon-ho levels of insanity at an award show. But yeah,
I'd love to see that.
I don't know if anyone's ever won because I don't think normally people can be nominated for that many. Bradley Cooper, actor, director, film, and did he write the screenplay? I can't remember if he's part of that screenplay.
I think. Let me check.
We've got it on the PDF. Yeah. We'll get to it later. But will Bradley Cooper win all those 4? Well, Twitter would react if he did. That's all I'm going to say. Based on evidence. I'm going to bring one comment we've got by Vinny. I was surprised Yorgos Lanthimos wasn't nominated for director, or that Mark Ruffalo didn't get a nod for supporting actor. I agree. We'll get into those. I mean, what we'll do is probably a good segue to sort of get into it. So, as you said, people watching at home, we're going to go through every category. Some categories you might just list the nominees. If there's not much we have to say, maybe between us we haven't seen the films. That's quite common. Not everyone's going to have the time to watch every single film. I'm sure many have. But it's more at this point you can then start picking the films to watch. That's how I approach it. There might be some categories where we have a couple of minutes chat because there's this horrible omission that we're just traumatized by. But with that being said, let's kickstart with. I know I do like this. Okay, let's talk E Rising Star really quickly. I know it's a public voted award. Some people look down on it, which I sort of don't like because if you actually look at the history of this after now.
Yeah,
almost everybody has gone on to have incredible careers. Even I mean, I know, okay, it's probably nearer 20 years ago now, but those late noughties ones, you have people like James McAvoy, Tom Hardy, you have massive names in it. And it's an award I've come to really enjoy. Not necessarily, I don't care who wins, but I like this. We're picking a couple of people who are really starting to push the limit. They might have already had nominations. They might have won stuff. They might have been in big TV shows, but I like the Rising Star Award, and I like the fact it's a public one because it shows, I wouldn't say who the general public are watching, but I think it shows the people that are aware of these award ceremonies, whose career they've enjoyed thus far. That's a weird way to talk about it, but just looking at these, we have Phoebe Dynevor, Ayo Edebiri. I'm going to say also apologies on any terrible pronunciations of names. Jacob Elordi, Mia McKenna-Bruce, and Sophie Wilde. Now, if you'd have said to me 2 weeks ago who would win this, I would have said Jacob Elordi because of Elvis and Saltburn. I am now categorically an Ayo Edebiri stan. I follow her on Letterboxd. I've never followed someone that isn't somebody I at least know or have interacted with. I've binged The Bear in the last week, which is one of the best shows of the last few years. I've seen Bottoms. I think she's been in another comedy. She has absolutely come through, and I'd love to see her win this one. I'm not just doing like, I love them all to win it. Like, they've all done very well, but there's a standout because she's been picking up Emmys and Golden Globes, because she had amazing red carpet moments. Naturally, very, very funny. But what are your thoughts on the Rising Star? Sorry, if you don't mind me saying.
I mean, because this was announced, I think it was earlier in the week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When I saw the list, I was pretty much happy with all of them. Like, this is one of those rare awards where I'm like, I really don't mind who wins, because I'm happy with anybody winning. Personally, I'm championing Sophie Wilde because she was phenomenal in Talk to Me. And I've seen a lot of people going straight to Ayo Edebiri, Jacob Elordi, or Mia McKenna Bruce. And I feel like Sophie Wilde's kind of getting forgotten about. The only one I've not seen anything in is Phoebe Dynevor. So I can't really comment on her. But to be honest, any of them, I'm happy with any of them. I know Ayo's probably going to get it. Like you said, because of the run she's had with the Golden Globes and the Emmys with The Bear. I still need to watch The Bear, by the way. But I genuinely would be happy with anybody getting it. Even Jacob Elordi, like, I think he's a very talented man. I feel like he can be, especially with Saltburn and then Priscilla, he can be a bit overhyped at times, but he's good at what he does. So yeah, I'd be happy if any of them got it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. And it is one of those nice awards that the one criticism of BAFTA over the years has always been, it was a precursor to the Oscars. It was just basically, everything is setting it all up to win the Oscars. And I would say the last 5 years, I have seen that change more. That I know they've not engineered like the best actor nominations, but I believe the best actor is a combination of a panel and the voters. And they extended it to 6. And we are seeing more of, it's the British Academy, so there should really be a shining light on the British actors and the British crews and productions. And I think BAFTA's got a lot better with it. I saw a lot of people kicking off today about certain things. There are some I absolutely agree with. But some people like this award show has no identity and stuff. I see a lot of people tweeting about that, and I think they've got more identity now than they did a couple of years ago. Granted, they're not there. Some very peculiar decisions, like every award show this time of year. Although ironically, the Golden Globes probably one of the strongest lineups I've ever seen, and I really hope that isn't like the only strong one in respect to no controversy. But moving from the Rising Star, we have outstanding debut by British writer, director, producer. We have Blue Bag Life, Bobby Wine, the People's President, Earth Mama, How to Have Sex. Is there anybody out there? I'll be honest, I've seen none of these. I've heard a lot about How to Have Sex. That was at the festival. Was it at Cannes as well? It was one again a lot of people spoke about.
Yeah, it debuted at Cannes, and then there was like a long stretch of not hearing anything about it, and then it played London, and then everyone was buzzing about it again. But I've not seen any of these either, which is quite bad.
No, it's okay. I'm going to say this one just for the stream. This stream wasn't planned properly. I messaged you like 3 o'clock. Say like, are you free tonight? Sorry, it's last minute. And here we are at 8 o'clock doing this. So even if you watch like 3 films between 3 and 8 p.m., which no one's going to do, you probably still wouldn't have seen them all. So there's no problem. And I'm the same as that. As we're opening the door. When we did the Golden Globe discussion 2 weeks ago, I told her, I was like, I've never seen The Bear. It keeps winning these awards. Because the Emmys, I'm like, binged it. 2 sittings. Unreal. Roll on Emmys again this year for when The Bear season 2 sweeps that again. But British short film, Festival of Slaps, Gorka, Jellyfish and Lobster, Such a Lovely Day, Yellow. Once again, I've seen none of these. I don't watch short films. I don't mean that in a rude way. And my old film lecturer does short films, which is probably really disrespectful for me to say that. But he won't be watching this. It's okay. Have you seen any of these? Should we just roll on if we've not seen them? Because we don't have much.
Yeah, I was going to say the short film and the short animation categories. I've heard of some of these. Can't remember where from, but I've heard of some of them, like Festival of Slaps, but I've not seen any of them.
British short animation, we've got Crab Day, Visible Mending, and Wild Summon. Again, same boat as you. Makeup and hair, though. So what we'll do, we'll start talking some of these. So makeup and hair, nominations. Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. There's your 5.
Mm.
I'm not here to moan. And this hasn't made the long list for the Oscars too, and I don't get it. How is Barbie not in Best Makeup and Hair? I know Poor Things is probably going to be winning like this now, but Maestro put a fake nose on Bradley Cooper and put him in prosthetics. And listen, this happens every awards year, and every year I moan. There's always a nomination for Best Makeup because of one actor who wore prosthetics.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree, but Barbie needs to be in. It says makeup and hair.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen Barbie? Have you seen how many haircuts there were? And it's probably going to be Poor Things. But do you have any opinion on this before I move on?
I mean, I've not seen Poor Things yet. I'm one of the few people that hasn't
just
seen
come
it.
out. It's been out a week.
Yeah. I keep meaning to want to see it, but I live in the middle of nowhere where like the only cinema near me is like this rundown Odeon that plays just like the big films, and then anything like weird or obscure, you have to really go out of your way to see it. But I, like you, I can kind of see Poor Things winning this. All the others, like they make sense, but at the same time, like Poor Things has got this in the bag. I'm surprised Guardians 3 is not in here because it had like, I think it had like the world record for the most amount of like creature prosthetics in one bit because of that planet with all the animal people. So I'm surprised that's not on here unless it would come under a different category. But that's outside of Barbie, which is like again an obvious one. Guardians 3 is like the only major admission that I'm like, okay, I'm a bit confused as to why that's not here.
I see that. I feel like the first Guardians got a lot of nominations for that sort of thing, but then and it did shoot here. But I wonder if that's fell into the Marvel. I know Robert Downey Jr. spoke about it recently. He says, like some people like dismiss my Marvel work, but I think it's some of the best acting I did. He says one day after laughing at the John Mulaney Marvel Reddit comment, which was a fantastic joke, and Downey was caught on camera laughing because it's a great joke. But I agree. Like I think it happened a couple of years ago. I remember Suicide Squad's not the good one. Won best like makeup at the Oscars over Star Trek Beyond. And it was like what? Just because Robbie was Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I think it was. I remember it being like a bit of a meme back in like 2017, where it was like, oh, the Oscar-winning film Suicide Squad. It kind of became a bit like a meme in the sense that like, oh, Boss Baby was nominated for Best Animated Film. Just like you can't really put 2 and 2 together, but it happens, so we let it happen.
It's when it was like what was the one? I think it's a joke like Suicide Squad had won more Oscars than the MCU. It's like stuff like that, and it's it happens with Oscar stuff. I do like that. It's like more the foot to me. That's like the football like memes and stuff getting crossed into film, which I always find funny. But let's talk some more. So we've got costume time. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. Again, this is to me a straight shootout with Barbie and Poor Things. I know if anyone's curious, if you live in London, there's a Poor Things exhibition on at the Barbican at the moment where they've got all the costumes from the film. I'm not going to go down to London to look at some costumes. I'm not going to lie. Not for like a one-off exhibition. I've done it before, but not for Poor Things. But if I was there, that'd be something I'd detour to. And to any film fans, it's probably very cool because the costumes are outstanding in that film. And we did the review last week with Charlie, and we're both in a weird mindset with it. It's grown on me like as every passing day goes by. I'm still not 100% on the film, but I've never once thought it's like production and it's stuff like this. I'm a huge said production because the next one's production design.
Yeah.
And we also have almost a repeat. We've got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, but this time the Zone of Interest rather than Napoleon. I can't remember we spoke about this before, but did you get to see the Zone of Interest at the festival or not?
No, so I only did 5 days at the festival, and annoyingly, that played the day after like I finished, and I completely forgot about it. I was like, "Oh Christ, I've missed it!" And then everyone banged on about how good it was. But it's coming out soon, so I'm hoping to watch it.
I think Friday the 2nd of February for people here in the UK. I could be wrong. Weirdly, it's getting an IMAX release.
Okay.
I said, I've not even seen the trailer. It's one I know it's a Holocaust film. I don't know the context and severity of that. Holocaust film is such an open term these days because you get different not levels of it because that's a horrible thing to say, but you've got a Schindler's List and then you've got a Boy in the Striped Pajamas, and they couldn't be two more different things. So, yeah, I don't know a lot about it, and that I don't really want to watch a Holocaust film on IMAX. That sounds awful. But it's coming out on IMAX, and that's me who always advocates going to the IMAX. But special visual effects, we have The Creator, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Napoleon, and Poor Things. The Creator has this in the bag, right? Like, if it doesn't, then I think this is a failed category. What have you seen? I mean, I've not. Okay, I know you've not seen Poor Things, but I'm not going to slate VFX because it's an industry that has been absolutely hampered by so many issues this year. And there is talks, obviously, VFX strikes this year now, which would be like the icing on the cake of that sort of 2 years. They are, what's the term, unionizing up because there are no VFX unions to then go on strike. So they're creating the unions to then strike, which is quite remarkable. And it is one company in particular who are responsible for that. There's an industry issue. There's one company more than any other who are at fault for this. Not pointing at you, 3-letter catchphrase. But when you see a film such as The Creator with an $80 million budget looking better than $300-400 million films, it speaks volumes about how these $300 million films should be, not just should be looking, how they should come across. I dropped a 4K review for The Creator on the channel this week. There's a 1-hour documentary on the Blu-ray, which is like almost the best selling point after the film. And there's a lot on the process, the shooting process, how they did it. And I'd encourage anybody to try and find that documentary if you are curious. And I do think this Guardians of the Galaxy looked phenomenal. If I'm being honest, I'd have put the Marvels over Mission Impossible for best VFX. Mission Impossible, I adore it. The problem is that when you drive a real-life train off a cliff in Derbyshire, when you're having to CGI around it to make it like it's in a different country, it actually loses a bit of its touch. And that's something that a few people spoke about. And it's not me slating the film at all or the stunt. It's just there's a few little things in that film that you can spot on the eye because it's been over-marketed as well, the stunt itself. Tom Cruise off the mountain is another one. You can see the rocks and everything because they showed us him driving up the ramp 1,000 times first.
Yeah, I was going to point that one out actually because they spent there were so many like mini trailers of like the metal ramp with the like pile of boxes underneath it and them really honing that in. And then when you watch the film, it's like you can really tell that's just a jagged bit of CGI sticking out of the mountain to make it look like a ramp. But yeah, I agree. The Creator's got this in the bag. I when I saw it last year, that like the visuals alone, just like it was a mixture of the cinematography and the visuals. They just blew me away. And I mean, I would be annoyed if it didn't win because, like you said, it cost 80 million. It looks way more expensive than it is in a good way. And it's just, I do have the Blu-ray of it, but even like the small like behind the scenes things they put up on YouTube about like how there was like a unique way they did the cinematography for it, and just everything about that film is just like I want to know more about it. And if it doesn't win, I will I will kick off.
Yeah, I can't remember if Godzilla Minus One was. I hate long list. Sorry, that could have been a separate fucking video. I don't know at what point the long list had become a big discussion point. Like BAFTA proudly talking about the long list. I hate it. I know you have to announce a long list to do the votes, but so many people mistake long lists for nominations now. And I can't remember if Godzilla Minus One was on the long list for BAFTA VFX or Oscar. But if it wasn't The Creator, I wanted it to be Godzilla because that's a $10 million budget that looks as good, not as good as The Creator, so The Creator should win, but for the logic of that being a $10 million film, looking better than Hollywood. Yeah, I love VFX as well, and I do think once there is another strike on that, I think people start to respect it once more, like the writers. Unless you're Joe Coy and you're trying to host an award ceremony with 10 days notice, and you want everybody to know that it's the writer's fault, not yours, apparently. But moving on from failed hosts, the BAFTA's got David Tennant. That's quite a mighty upgrade.
That's a win.
That's fun. I thought they're not going to top Rich G. Grant from last year. Let's forget Alison Hammond. I don't think that was her fault. I just think they put her in a unfair scenario doing this. But go for a British actor that isn't nominated on the night, that has natural charisma, that's respected by the audience in attendance, that can host a show. Rich G. Grant, followed by Tennant. Make this a thing after. I cannot do a double act next year of the pair of them if you wanted to. But I'm so excited for Tennant hosting the BAFTAs. And that's not because Doctor, that's just because of David Tennant. But moving on from Dream Host, let's talk Best Sound. So Oscars still does 2 sound awards. No, Oscars dropped it back to 1, didn't they? We just had 1 award for Best Sound. Ferrari making a welcome appearance. As somebody that watched Ferrari on Boxing Day. Yeah, that was a Boxing Day morning. I definitely would have had it nominated for sound because the audio mixing was very poor indeed. And there were bits that I think I don't normally criticize it, but I saw the Ferrari, I saw it was in sound, and I just sat there like, what? It doesn't. Maybe it's just because it's Michael Mann. They thought it sounded like Heat, but yes, Ferrari's nominated. Sorry, Maestro, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Oppenheimer and The Zone of Interest. I don't have anything to add. Do you?
I mean, Ferrari was one of my least favorite films of last year, for a number of reasons. And like you said, like the sound is. There are points where like someone will be talking, it will cut away, and then by the time it cuts back, it's like weirdly out of sync, and it's just. I mean, I'm not surprised it's nominated, but I can think of like 3 or 4 other films that would have perfectly like been better choices. I feel like Oppenheimer again has got this in the bag. Maybe Maestro might come in at the last minute, but I don't know.
I do miss I liked the Oscars, the sound mixing, sound editing. I had a rule of thumb on our predictions game: always put the war films in because they would always win. So Oppenheimer maybe, but moving on from sound, we get original score, and this is where it starts to get fun. Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Saltburn, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. 4 of those unbelievable soundtracks. One of those, I'm convinced, was nominated because of a needle drop at the end, which is not a soundtrack. The original piece of music, sorry. So I think we all know what's winning this anyway. But I just couldn't get over Saltburn getting a best score. No. But Spider-Verse being that I'm so happy about because Daniel Pemberton is an unbelievable composer, and I didn't think they would. And this sounds really rude. I don't think the album's techno, but if you look at how he records the music for it, if anyone's seen like behind the scenes, it's a very I don't want to say unoriginal. It's like what's the term for? It's like a unique approach that isn't traditional.
Unorthodox.
Yeah, unorthodox. Yeah. And that's the sort of thing, especially BAFTA with British high mighty eyebrows from the BAFTA voters. I thought this would be the ones that is just gone, but it wasn't. I'm glad this has been nominated. I think. If I'm being honest, if it wasn't Ludwig Göransson's year, I think Spider-Verse would be winning this at every award ceremony.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, especially after Ludwig Göransson won the Golden Globe, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So after that, after I saw him winning that, I'm like, yeah, he's pretty much got this in the bag. Plus, the Oppenheimer score is impeccable, but he's pretty much got it in the bag. But when I saw Saltburn on the list, I had to think to myself, I was like, is there actually a score to the film? Because I just only remember like the needle drops throughout the film. I don't actually recall there being a score for the film, but apparently it says it does have one. So that's news to me. But yeah, if it somehow went to Spider-Verse, I'd be more than happy. If it went to Killers of the Flower Moon as well, I'd be happy because you've got I've not seen Poor Things, but I have heard pieces of the soundtrack, and I know it is very.
Composer's like 27, 28. He's my age. Why did my life? Like, not that I could do music. I was like, it sounds really like you don't get young composers, but when you think of composers, you don't think of 27, 28-year-olds working on a film like with a director like Yorgos Lanthimos as well. And I'm like, when do we do the rest? I'm like, 28? Like, Wikipedia couldn't confirm his birth year. That's when you know, like, they're struggling. But
Oh God.
Poor Things is a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I've seen that scene of Emma Stone's character attempting to dance, and that one scene alone, like the score, I was just watching it and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, in a good way, I was like, what the hell is the score doing? This sounds nuts, but I love it. But yeah, I would, if it's not going to win, but if Saltburn does win, it won't, but there's always like a minute thing of just like, well, it might, and if it does, I'd just be so pissed.
I'm with you. I get it. Best editing: Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Zone of Interest. I still haven't watched Anatomy of a Fall. I've been meaning to watch it for a while. There'll be a review on the channel if/when it gets nominated for best film. I can't call this. I'm in this boat, and this is really arrogant. I am fully expecting an Oppenheimer sweep across the board with a couple of awards going to other things. This is how I feel about award season this year. It feels like an unstoppable like force at this point in time. That it's there in almost everything we're going to talk about. It appears, and it is a statement film. We'll talk about it a lot more as we get through these, but I am interested to see a few of these other ones. Again, Anatomy of a Fall I mentioned. Zone of Interest, I think, had 9 or 6 nominations across BAFTA. And we'll be covering that before it comes out. But even cinematography, Here's the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest. Again, I've seen 4 out of 5. I'm gonna keep. We're not making a predictions game, but almost every prediction is just gonna like say Oppenheimer at this point. But
yeah, I'm one of the, outside of all the hate Bradley Cooper gets on Twitter, which I think is really unnecessary.
Where's it come from? I don't get it.
I don't know. I genuinely don't.
He made a backhanded comment at Cillian Murphy on Actors and Actors, but I feel like people were going for him before that.
Yeah, it's almost like as soon as he released Maestro and it dropped on Netflix, that's when people started like slagging it off. And it as someone who like really likes that film, it ended up in my top 10, I think, of last year. Like, I can understand the criticism of it being very Oscar baity. It can be a bit much at times, but like, you can't deny that it's on a technical level, in terms of a filmmaking thing, it's a hell of an achievement of a film. Like, I remember seeing it at London Film Festival, and there were some scenes in particular where I was kind of in awe, and I hadn't got that with a film really since Oppenheimer earlier in the year. So like this is like with cinematography, I'd be more than happy if, I know Oppenheimer's kind of got it in the bag, and I do like Hoyt van Hoytema. Also, I think I'm similar to you. I've not seen Zone of Interest. I don't know much about it, but one thing I do know is that the entire film is shot in wide shots. There's no close-ups at all.
Really?
Yeah, it's all shot
That's exciting.
with really super wide lenses, and like, not like fisheye, nothing like that, but like the camera, if there's 2 people having a conversation in a room, the camera is all the way at the back of the room, and it's like you see the whole room, and that it's like that for the entirety of the film. There's no close-ups of any kind. There's no mid shots. It's all just massive wide shots for the entirety of the film. Like, I've seen bits of the trailer, and I saw someone review it, and they said that, and I was like, oh, that's a weird choice, but I'm intrigued to see it. And the one thing I was going to say with editing, I think Oppenheimer does have it in the bag, but I think Thelma Shoemaker might get it.
Yes,
because there's that credibility.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't think it's weird. I think it's. I put it second in my film the year last year, but there's probably going to be a heavy discussion in because it's present throughout, but then it's missing, as far as I'm concerned, the 2 most obvious nominations that I have looking at the film, which we'll get to, and obviously there's a third big omission too with one of the actors. But let's quickly look at. Ironically, we're going to talk about it now. Best casting. And also, I love this, by the way. I love this BAFTA. I think I know the Oscars don't want more awards. We had the ridiculous them untelevising loads of slots a couple of years ago. Instead, we got Amy Schumer jokes. But if there's two Oscars that need to happen, it's best choreography and it's best cast. On how they want to dress it up, but casting, I like BAFTA has this, and the nominations are All of Us Strangers, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, How to Have Sex, Killers of the Flower Moon. I would say, like, again, it's sweeping around. I'm not saying like Angry Where's Oppenheimer. The first five are sort of the first four are all very like British. I know Holdovers isn't, but low key, smaller ensembles. And Killers of the Flower Moon's like, boom, here's this cast. And then they don't nominate two of the actors. I quite like this. It feels very British. It's the British Academy. I don't know what's going to win. I think it's the first time for the Holdovers so far as well.
Yeah, that is true. I think that is the first time the Holdovers has popped up. I'm not saying this as someone who's like really championing the film, but I think All of Us Strangers has a chance of winning this because you have the film literally just has 4 actors in it, and there's no one else. It's just 4 actors, and they're all working at the top of their game, and they are honestly 4 of the best performances I saw last year. So I would not be surprised if that wins it or is like very close to winning it. But Oppenheimer's not here. Barbie's not here as well, which are like 2 of the most like if there was is it the Emmys or the Golden Globes that have the best ensemble cast? Or no, that's the SAG Award.
SAG, yeah. Which I like that. I like the ensemble as an award logic.
Yeah.
But also I like this because it's, as you said, I've not seen All of the Strangers, but there's 4 actors in a film and they carry that film, then that's the best casting because you've had to nail 4 of 3 work. One doesn't the film and function. So it's a very good point that actually you brought that up. But yeah, no Barbie, I forgot about that too. And that cast is stacked as an understatement for what they did with that one. But best documentary, 20 Days in Mariupol, American Symphony, Beyond Utopia, still a Michael J. Fox movie, and Wham! ! I've seen one of these. I saw the Michael J. Fox film last year.
That's the only one I've seen as well.
I don't want to call it underrated. I don't think people really knew about it. And this is kind of the Apple problem that I think Apple is the best streaming service based on the quality of their output. It's quality, not quantity with them. And I remember watching Still and I was sort of not traumatized, but I didn't think we'd get something like that, not just on Michael J. Fox, but also on what he's been through as well. And it was eye-opening in the same way that you might disassociate Parkinson's with someone that's only had one relative with it, a distant relative. So I can't sit there and say I've witnessed this and that through it.
Yeah.
To see like an A-list actor and we see him built up, if anyone's curious, like he talks about how arrogant he was when he was younger. He talks about being diagnosed. He's like, I refuse to believe it could happen to me because I'm Michael J. Fox. So many actors would cut that aren't humble. And I thought it was a really eye-opening documentary. And I think full credit to him for not just producing it. Yes, it's about him, but to see its impact on his career and not for the positive. It's not a great like look how great I am. I've come through it. It's as open as it could have ever been. Yeah, and I think everybody should try and watch that film if they get the opportunity. Again, I've not seen the others, but I do think this could be the winner of this based on the fact it is also about Michael J. Fox, who's obviously household name.
It's all right. I would like to see it win because, like you, it's the only documentary I've seen out of this lot. I keep meaning to watch the Wham! One, but I just kind of life happened. But it's I kind of agree with you. It's just incredibly honest. Like it doesn't beat around the bush. It doesn't. What's the words? It doesn't over exaggerate anything. It just kind of presents it as a matter of fact, and he just is brutally honest in the film, and I really like that about the movie as well. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It doesn't cover up anything. It's just like if it happened, it happened, and because it's coming from his mouth again. I don't know. It just kind of hits a bit harder as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we'll move on to best animated film, which this probably is going to. This has been one of the big discussion points. For a starter, they only have 4 films that get nominated, which I find peculiar in 2024 that it's still 4. We have The Boy and the Heron, Chicken Run Dawn and the Nugget, Elemental, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Right, Aaron, you know animation a lot better than me. I've seen 3 of these 4.
Right.
I already know what film's going to win. That should win. But I'm just going to say, listen, I saw Chicken Run. I loved the first Chicken Run film. I watched the second one a couple of weeks ago. I didn't particularly care for it, if I'm being honest. I love the animation. I love Aardman. I know what they're capable of. They still delivered a good animation. But I just feel like it didn't... I don't feel like it... Not like it didn't need a sequel, but if you're going to bring Chicken Run back after 20 years... Yeah, I could have expected something a bit more than just we got free-range chickens this time, which I like that a little bit of. But the floor is yours to go in.
Right, right. Here we go. So I tweeted this a couple months ago, but 2023 I genuinely think was an incredible year for animated films as a whole, because you just got a lot of them and they all ended up being either really good or really great. And don't get me wrong, these 4 nominations are that's a solid 4. I like all 4 of these films. Boy and the Heron's incredible. Spider-Verse is incredible. Elemental's grown on me a lot over the last year. And then Chicken Run, I'm like a small handful of people that actually quite like that film. I don't think it's like a masterpiece, but I always have a bit of a soft spot for Aardman films, and it just kind of, I guess I was in the right mood when I watched it, and it just kind of worked. But the big thing is there are just 4, and I can already name like 5 or 6 other animated films that came out last year that, I mean, again, no offense to Chicken Run, but Chicken Run is the one that easily would be replaced. You've got Disney's Wish, you've got Suzume, which was an anime that everyone kept talking about and I still haven't seen. You got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Nimona, which was a Netflix film that was really underrated. You got even the Super Mario Brothers, which was one of the biggest films of last year. Even that's not on here, and it ended up in, I think, the Golden Globe nominations. So you've already got like a list of 5 or 6 other films that I wouldn't necessarily say deserve to be on here instead of these films. Like, again, Elemental, I think, has every right to be here. Boy and the Heron does, and Spider-Verse. And Chicken Run to a little bit of an extent because it's a British film. But at the same time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles should be on this list because, I mean, it's an incredible bit of animation. I don't know how to best sum it up, but like there's a lot of missed potential with this category this year. And I think just limiting it to 4 when there are other categories that have 5 or 6, I think's kind of wrong, especially considering last year was incredible for animated films. And just picking these 4 kind of does it a bit of a disservice. That's the best way I can sum it up, really.
No, I'm with you on that, and I think it is the thing is it's the fact it's 4 still, and
yeah,
I'm not saying 10 years ago animation wasn't film. I'm not saying that at all, but I would say that the last 5 to 10 years, I'm not saying animation has gone leaps and bounds. I think this time of year has opened itself up more than just the generic Disney films. I know it's the Oscars that had that streak, didn't it? Where it was like everything but like 1 or 2 years was Disney until Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And I think that they've shot themselves in the foot by not extending it to 5. When BAFTA changed the awards around, when they went up to 6 for actor and actress, etc., to keep animation at 4 just felt very odd. And it doesn't exactly extend the show by having 6 animated films being nominated. It doesn't alter a broadcast or anything. There's not actually a reason for it not having 5 or 6. That's how I view it, at least.
And I'm pretty sure, sorry to interrupt, but I'm pretty sure from what I remember seeing of the BAFTAs last year and the year before, I'm pretty sure animation is one of the ones they don't even show.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
There's loads of ones
that baffles me as well.
I mean, what's worse, them editing down the broadcast or the fact in 2024 the BAFTAs still aren't live for reasons unknown to humanity. It's still not live, which is just ridiculous. because then they just chuck it all in like 30 seconds before best film, which is always so annoying.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, I mentioned Alison Hammond earlier. They edited the broadcast last year to appease the American viewers, because what would be the 10-minute, well, the 2-minute ad break in America, we were given Alison Hammond, who I think she's a great host. I think she was out of a depth for BAFTA. That was unfair to chuck her in for 2 minutes every 10 minutes, because unless you knew this is to accommodate American viewers, everyone's like, why the fuck is she on this right now compared to the main haul? And I hope that they have changed the structure for the broadcast this year, because that was terrible last year. But moving on, let's talk best film not in the English language. 20 Days in Mariupol, Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, Society of the Snow, The Zone of Interest. Again, I've only seen Past Lives. I can only really comment on that, but I will have watched, I think, 3 or 4 of these. Tate reviewed Society of the Snow recently, which is on our channel for those curious by that. Have you seen many of these, if any?
The only one I've seen is Past Lives. I think Anatomy of the Fall has got it in the bag, but I keep meaning to watch Society of the Snow because it's been on Netflix for like a week or so. But I desperately keep meaning to watch that. But as Past Lives being the only one I've seen, I mean, if it does somehow win, that's great because it's a really good film. But it's not going to. Unfortunately, I feel really bad saying that, and it's just brutal. But like, it's not going to win, and I feel really bad for it.
It's fair. It's fair to say. I mean, you never know. But I'm in the same. But I think BAFTA-wise, Anatomy of a Fall looks like it's going to do a pretty heavy job. And stick up, we get outstanding British film, All of Us Strangers, How to Have Sex, Napoleon, British film. Okay, The Old Oak, Poor Things, Rye Lane, Saltburn, Scrapper, Wonka, and The Zone of Interest. Now, I know that outstanding British film, it's about tick boxes to what qualifies to be British. It's based off X amount of criteria. Yes, Roald Dahl was British and his books were filmed here and the film is set here, but let's be honest, Wonka's an American production, just with a lot of British cast members. I'll be really honest, I like this award, and I prefer this award when it's given to actual, not British films, because that's the point of the award, but I would, with having not seen it, a film such as, to me, the films that jump out to win an award like this are All of Us Strangers, Rye Lane, Scrapper. I know that Old Oak is Ken Loach's recent film. I think it's his last film, but I would be traumatized if Saltburn won this, and I'm scared Saltburn will win this. Yes, it's a British film. Emerald Films is a British director. It was shot here. It's got, to a point, British casts, but to me, like it doesn't have that quintessential British film feeling like Rye Lane. Rye Lane lives and breathes British independent cinema. I heard that about Scrapper, which is I've heard very good stuff about. All of the Strangers. The outstanding British film to me pinpoints those types of films. It should be the award where you shine a light on those that don't have, that aren't going to get into best film. So you highlight the other British films, and that's a bit of an over exaggeration, maybe. But do you sort of see where I'm coming from? Does it make sense?
Yeah. I've always felt the same way as well. Like, you get in this category, I've always really liked this category because it makes it kind of stand out compared to like your Emmys and your Oscars and stuff, so it feels like unique to the BAFTAs, and I like it. Similar to the Rising Star one as well, it kind of makes it just stand out on its own 2 feet. But I totally agree with you. You get some of these like big budget films that squeeze their way in here, and I think this has been quite true to what has actually won it in the past few years. I might be wrong because I can't quite remember, but it does always end up going to the quintessentially British one over, it was a big production that happened to be filmed here. In terms of, like, I pretty much, again, agree with you. If All of Us Strangers, Rye Lane, Scrapper, or even How to Have Sex, if either of those 4 won it, I feel like they kind of deserve it in terms of what the category's trying to get across. I have a horrible suspicion Saltburn will get it, but again, even with the Old Oak, like I like Ken Loach a lot as a filmmaker. It's not his best film, but even that, I feel like might have a chance of winning it because it's his last film, because he's a well-respected British director, and the film is pointing out a lot of things that are kind of systemically wrong with this country. Like, I feel like that has got a lot going for it in terms of what it's trying to say, who it's made by, and it's his last film. But again, Saltburn's there. And everyone won't shut up about Saltburn.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm looking at the last few winners. We had the Banshees of Inisherin last year, Belfast the year before, Promising Young Woman. So Emerald Fennell's won it before. Yeah. And then the only really big one we've had, I guess you could say, is 1917.
But even that makes sense. Yeah.
But how ridiculous is this? 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri was the outstanding British film. Okay.
Okay.
Over Paddington 2, that's not aged well, has it? No. But yeah, let's move on because it's interesting. Let's get some of the big ones. So, adapted screenplay, All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest. Again, can't call a winner. That looks pretty stacked, if I'm being honest. I'd imagine it's Oppenheimer or Poor Things off the top of my head, just off what's been nominated across so far. I'd jump to those two if it was me.
Yeah, I can see Oppenheimer getting it for some reason. I mean, it's a brilliant screen. I remember pretty much like straight after seeing the film, I bought the book, like
the screenplay.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, first person screenplay. I'd have failed my degree if I handed this in. Then they said you don't do that. No, you know what's going to happen, don't you? For the next 5 years, every media degree, every media A level,
they're just going to try and do that.
Every student's going to now do the point of view screenplay because of Christopher Nolan, and it's so funny because he's probably the only director in the world that could get away with doing that.
Yeah,
because he's not. He's the director, the writer, and the producer, and the other producer, his wife. So I'm even picturing. Oh God, what's his name? He did Chicago 7.
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, if Aaron Sorkin had it in a point of view screenplay, they'd probably be like, "Do it properly."
Yeah,
I genuinely think, and that's probably the best regarded sort of screenplay writer of the last couple of decades in the industry.
Yeah,
and I don't even think he'd be allowed to do that.
No, I think the Writers Guild would just look at him and go, "Aaron, what the fuck are you doing?"
yeah. But original screenplay though, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Maestro, Past Lives. I will save the Barbie debate for the Oscar video next week. But original screenplay for this award. I'm in the camp that no, it's not original because it's based off existing IP. Literally, I agree with what the Oscars has done, and I do not understand why it's become such a big thing online. Because it's based off existing intellectual property. That's literally how. Star Wars sequels are adapted screenplays, even if they're original, because it's based off existing characters. Did Barbie exist as a character? Well, yes, that's the point of the film. So sorry to just jump in there. Do you have any thoughts on the award before we move on?
I mean, no matter what category it's in, I would like Barbie to win whatever screenplay category it's nominated for, because I think it is a very good screenplay. Maestro baffles me a little bit because I could have sworn it was Bradley Cooper had written it based off of something to do with Leonard Bernstein's life. Yeah, so it being included here does baffle me a little bit. But in terms of who would win it, I mean, Anatomy of a Fall might have it in the bag, but again, I genuinely don't. I can't really call this one or even the previous one either.
That's fair. Supporting actor, here we go. Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, buzzing. Robert Downey Jr., Oppenheimer, great. Jacob Elordi, Saltburn, liked him in the film, didn't think it would be supporting actor level nomination. Ryan Gosling, Barbie, standard. Paul Mescal, All of Us Strangers, not seen it. Dominic Sessa, The Holdovers, love that he snuck in, by the way. I thought he was great in The Holdovers. I feel that there's a baffling omission somewhere. I know that Andrew Scott would be actor, right? Lead actor.
Yeah, he'd be lead actor. I think the biggest omission is Charles Melton from May December.
And I think he's far better than Jacob Elordi and Saltburn. May December getting nothing at the BAFTAs, I don't think, actually.
I've seen quite a few people since it got a digital release, kind of not clicking with it. And I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed. I think it's because of the way it's been marketed and I it annoys me a little. Well, not annoys me, but like I've really enjoyed that film, and
I wasn't the biggest fan. I get it.
it's an
I'm in a
acquired
weird
taste.
vibe with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like sort of. I didn't know about the real life stuff. That it's sort of based off, like they took inspiration from something that happened in real life, and they didn't.
yeah,
You didn't need permission because you're taking inspiration from it, and it's not the same
mm,
characters, events, etc. So I understand that. But what I would say
mm,
is Charles Melton wasn't, I think, the best thing in that film. Um,
yeah,
and I thought certainly, again, this is an award that gets 6 nominees, not
mm,
5. So that extra one, I think Jacob Elordi snuck in. I think he's fine in Saltburn. I liked him in Saltburn. I haven't
yeah,
seen him in Euphoria. I'd seen Elvis after Saltburn, but I just didn't. I wasn't particularly wowed by that
mm,
performance, if I'm being honest. But we all know who is winning this one, I think.
mm,
Although I will say I love De Niro got him because he's quietly been going through award season.
yeah.
I thought he's great in Flower Moon. Although we'll talk about it very quickly, but the only cast member nominated from Kiss the Flower Moon, Robert De Niro,
Mm.
bonkers. But supporting actress
Yeah.
though, Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color Purple, Claire Foy, All of the Strangers, Sandra Huller, The Zone of Interest, Rosamund Pike, Saltburn, Davine Joy Randolph, The Holdovers.
Mm.
Davine Joy Randolph's been winning this everywhere else.
Yeah.
I haven't seen most of the other films, but I would not be surprised if BAFTA go for a British film with this one. And I've not seen All of
Yeah.
the Strangers. Claire Foy, I'm going to pop the question to you: could that be an upset?
I mean, I wouldn't be upset for sure, because I mean, like I said earlier, you've got that film is 4 actors all at the top of their game, and they're all great for all different reasons. Even like even Paul Mescal getting supporting actor kind of surprises me. Like, don't get me wrong, he's good in it, but like, I definitely would have either swapped Jacob Elordi or Paul Mescal out for Charles Melton. Like, one of those two would have easily swapped. I can't comment on Dominic Cesar because I haven't seen the holdovers, but I mean, I really want Claire Foy to win it because her performance is just so good in that film. Rosamund Pike kind of, I mean, she is good in Saltburn, but I would have probably swapped her out for like Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God? Which I don't think she's popped up in many award
No,
shows, I don't think,
and
but I
that's a
would
film
have.
that everyone that's seen it's loved it and spoke about
Yeah,
it as well.
yeah, it's a really, if you're looking for like a go-to comfort watch, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is like the perfect film to watch because it just makes you feel happy and warm by the end of it. And it's a great film, but the best thing in it is Rachel McAdams as the mum. I can't remember the character's name, but I would have really loved to have seen her get like more recognition, not just here, but just in general. And if I was choosing them, I would have swapped Rosamund Pike for her, because I've not seen The Color Purple, I've not seen Zone of Interest, and I've not seen The Holdovers. But I would have easily swapped Rosamund Pike because she's good in Saltburn, but I just feel like in terms of a stronger
It's too easy a choice, isn't it? It's like,
yeah,
you're in Saltburn, there you go. Although I saw a great tweet about her costume at the Golden Globes that she was serving some CUN for those that know those. That you don't often see that sort of thing make it into film Twitter, but when it does, it's exceptional.
yeah,
Leading actor Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Carmen
mm,
Domingo, Rustin, Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, Barry Keoghan, Saltburn, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer, and Teo Yo, Past Lives. Love the Past Lives nomination.
yep,
I do not understand why it's only one of the 2 leads from Past Lives nominated for this. I'm going to
yeah.
say,
That doesn't make sense.
and I think Greta Lee was the better too. But let's be honest, guys, it's a straight shootout between Paul Giamatti. I say it's a straight shootout, Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy. I think at BAFTA, I do not see anybody but Cillian Murphy winning the BAFTA.
Yeah.
And I'm not nervous for the Oscars. I know the Critics' Choice Awards happened.
Yeah.
And I've sort of said this. There was an Emmy video, as with Charlie, but the Critics' Choice is basically Film Twitter, the award show. And if you look at the history of winners, it's very much not films people on Twitter liked, but it's that outside that bubble are the voters, the people that work in the industry, the people that watch a lot of these films going to go have the same history with. No. And the Critics' Choice aren't reliable. They're fair, and you can look at them, but they're not a precedent. And Paul Giamatti's win's great because I love Paul Giamatti, him as actor. I think his awards campaign has been more that we love Paul Giamatti. He's great in the holdovers. He's genuinely fantastic in the holdovers, but I don't think he's on a level of Cillian in Oppenheimer, if I'm being really honest. I'm not predicting it, but and I saw a tweet and I sort of had the same echo, is hypothetically, if Oppenheimer was to dominate the entirety of this award season and the lead actor playing Oppenheimer doesn't win lead actor, that would leave a very sour taste in the mouth. I can't see that happening, but it's like a given, right? It's that, you can't all win it but Oppenheimer. It's not that type of film. And obviously, we've got the Bradley Cooper train of the maestro. Do you know that he spent 6 years learning how to conduct to be a conductor for one? Listen, it's a lot of actors want to win Oscars, and that's never really been a problem until Bradley Cooper, apparently, which I found bonkers. And if you were an actor, if someone said, "Do you want an Oscar?" you'd say yes. Would you write, direct, and star in a film to win an Oscar? Well, it gives you 3 opportunities to win one, but I think it's all got a bit OTT with him. Again, I am obviously a big fan of Nolan, Oppenheimer, Cillian. So I was surprised to see him make that backhanded comment in the interview. But the level of nonsense I've seen online about him it's a lot. Even for social media standards, it's like he's still an unbelievable actor. And at the end of the day, and this is of no slight of Rami Malek, if I were Bradley Cooper after A Star Is Born losing to someone lip syncing an imitation of Freddie Mercury, I too would be traumatized. But I would not. Yeah. I just, Maestro. It was going to be Spielberg. It was going to be Scorsese. They're both producers, I believe.
Yeah.
It wasn't just some project that they conjured up to win him an Oscar. It was something that's been in production for a lot longer than Bradley Cooper's been attached to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's I don't say a fair nomination. I don't think he's going to win. But it's part of the discussion now is the weird Bradley Cooper. It was funny, the face he pulled at the Golden Globes. Again, it doesn't help, does it? That you can just see it. But then, some actors gave it scot-free. Michael Keaton wants nothing to do with Birdman because he didn't win Best Actor at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And he famously got the speech out, didn't he? He put it away after he finally didn't win. But sorry to sort of divert, but your thoughts? I know you're a big fan I know you like Maestro a lot more than me.
Yeah.
But do you see anyone but Cillian, especially at BAFTA?
So because I would agree with you. I do think Cillian's got it in the bag, but BAFTA has got a history of giving it to a left field choice at the last minute. I think last year everyone thought it was going to go to Brendan Fraser. No, it went to Austin Butler. Deservedly so, but even then, when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I just went on board with it." But they've got a history of choosing someone at the last, different at the last minute, which could be Paul Giamatti. It could be, or Bradley Cooper has got a little bit of a chance. I suppose the only other one that's close to getting it is Paul Giamatti.
And then Barry Keoghan wins.
Yeah, if Barry Keoghan wins, don't get me wrong, I love him as an actor, but
to be fair, at least we know Cillian must be happy with that because it's his fellow Irishman, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
But it could happen. Saltburn's cropped up a lot. It's not. I'd put a bet on now. If it's not Cillian, it'll be Barry. And I don't say I'm that confident of being Cillian Murphy, but I just think if it was to be some outrageous left field pick, because they put his song to go up on stage would be Murder on the Dance Floor, and then hell would break loose when he starts dancing. Hopefully, fully clothed.
I completely understand where you're coming from that. With the whole Maestro, I was just going to say with the whole Maestro thing, where because again, people, as soon as it dropped on Netflix, people started taking the piss out of Bradley Cooper because he spent 6 years practicing to. I will admit that one scene in the cathedral had my jaw dropped. Yeah, like when I saw it at London Film Festival, I was like, I think that's why I can't be mad at Maestro, because like looking at it from his performance and the performance as a whole, they're all great. Looking at it from a filmmaking perspective, I just can't be mad at it because it is just. There's so much like passion put behind it, and yeah, there are times where it is trying a bit too hard, but again, I can't be mad at it because it is just a massive love letter in every sense. And when I hear about the whole like he did 6 years of prep for that scene, like I commend the guy, and it really does show off in that scene, but I just think I just don't get
that didn't need to be public information.
No, there's that, and also I just think the response is just a bit
OTT as well.
Yeah, it's just too much.
The one thing I did find funny was when they're like, it was about Tar. I think it's someone making a joke that Kate Blanchett did not spend 6 years learning to compose Tar or something. Like they're all doing that, but yeah, I get it. I'm with you. But let's talk leading actress. So we've got Fantasia Barrino for The Color Purple. Sandra Huller, 2 nominations on the night for Amityville Fall. Carey Mulligan, Maestro. Vivian Opera, Rylane. Margot Robbie, Barbie. Emma Stone, Poor Things. I will say I think Emma Stone has this in the bag. Only because the real Best Actress of last year didn't get nominated. Lily Gladstone is not nominated. Listen, I have only seen 4 of the 6. I love the fact Vivian's been nominated for Rylane. I'd keep that in a heartbeat. I'll be really honest, only because I've not seen The Color Purple yet or anything before. Of the 4 I've seen, I mean, Lily Gladstone is better than all 4 of them, but Margot Robbie would be the easiest one to push over for that nomination. I am genuinely... I was so perplexed by the omission that I didn't notice she hadn't been included, because it reminds me of when Ben Affleck didn't get nominated for Best Director for Argo, yet he won Best Film. Like, it was such a bonkers thing for the Academy to do that it overshadowed almost all of it. Lily Gladstone not being there is just not right, if I'm being honest. Her performance in that film, it's not about race before anyone cries or moans. She's the best performance in what I think is the second best film of last year. How many people can say that they outperformed Leonardo DiCaprio in a leading role? And she is one of the very few who can say that. And also, to Leo's credit, the entirety of award season, he's been doing the marketing with her. He did the carpet with her. He's been trying to get the attention, or using the attention he gets to put onto her to prop her up for her career, which I think is amazing. And I just could not believe she was not nominated. Leo not being nominated, it's a surprise. But I also think he is incredible in that film. But I also have no issue with him not being nominated, because I do not think that's I don't think it's not one of Leo's best films. Like, Leo's got one of the best careers an actor's ever had. So it doesn't stand up compared to a lot of it. At the same time, I see why some people agree he isn't nominated, but I can't look at the 6 for Best Actor and say, all of you get out Leonardo DiCaprio to get in. Whereas of the 4 I've seen, I can say that for Lily Gladstone. Yeah,
I can kind of... I'm pretty much everything you've said. You've hit the nail on the head. Like, I mean, Emma Stone has got it in the bag, but like Carey Mulligan, she's very good in the film.
Yes, it's better than Bradley Cooper, I think, in that film.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Bradley Cooper, but again, there were points where like it felt like he was going too far, whereas Carey Mulligan was like the constant throughout that film. Like, she was the thing that kind of glued it together. And I think everyone's kind of in agreement of like, even if you're not a massive fan of Maestro, everyone can kind of agree that like Carey Mulligan is the best thing about that film. Vivian Opera for Rylane, I'm just happy that's there. And I kind of agree with you. Like, if I was to swap one person out, I'd probably maybe go Margot for Lily.
And it's not like Margot Robbie doesn't have a bad performance, by the way, either in that film. And she's also nominated for Best British Film for Saltburn. So she hasn't got her nomination still. But yeah, I agree. Like, she's so good in that film. But I think Barbie's... Barbie's accumulation of a lot of other things together. That the lead role, it's obviously important, and it functions that it has to be Margot Robbie sort of in a weird way, like nominated. But I don't think the best performance of that film is Margot. I think it's Ryan Gosling. Maybe that's a controversial comment. But there's a reason he's all over award season. No best song BAFTA nomination he's have to worry about. I'm Just Ken being sung on stage this month. But let's talk director, because I was talking about some Barbie stuff. Best director: All of Us Strangers, Andrew Hay. Anatomy of a Fall, Justin Triet. The Holdovers, Alexander Payne, says Through Gritted Teeth. Maestro, Bradley Cooper. Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan. The Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer. No Yorgos Lanthimos nomination, which I was shocked by.
Yeah.
No Greta Gerwig nomination, which I was shocked by.
Yeah.
No Scorsese nomination, which I am appalled by. Now, I've not seen All of Us Strangers. I can't comment. I've not seen Anatomy of a Fall. Justin Trier is the only female director. When they extended it to 6, the whole purpose they said was to be more open with stuff like this. I will say right now, Maestro and The Holdovers should not be nominated over the 3 I mentioned.
Yeah,
The Holdovers particularly, I don't really want to get into it on a stream because it's legal, etc., etc. But if people want to look at the cloud over Alexander Payne, it's one of the reasons I've never not cared for it much this award season. That people pick and choose what controversies let's talk about in the public eye. Alexander Payne being nominated, I have a problem with. I think it's a great film. I think it's Paul Giamatti's film. I don't think it's the director. But no Scorsese. That is just disgraceful.
I don't get it. I genuinely don't. The 3 you mentioned, I think, as much as
I think should be there as well.
Yeah, I think Holdovers definitely could have been swapped out.
Yeah.
I even think Celine Song.
That's what I was thinking. Past Lives, Celine Song directorial debut as well. Again, I've only seen 3 of the 6, and it will probably be 6 out of 6 by the time it comes. But I can just tie it off Maestro and The Holdovers, Past Lives, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon. There'll be others. Poor Things, sorry. How's Poor Things got like 11 nominations everywhere but director?
That doesn't make sense.
I can't process that. And I love that All of Us Strangers has a nomination coming because it's the British film. It's a lower budget than all of the other ones. Anatomy of a Fall is a foreign film, female director, but I'm just so perplexed by The Holdovers, if I'm being really honest.
I mean, I was legitimately. I'm really happy that All of Us Strangers is there, but I'm also quite surprised by it being there. Again, because of the list of films that we've mentioned that have appeared everywhere else, but they're absent here. Even to an extent, Todd Haynes for May December, because that was one thing he was nominated for Golden Globes. And again, I mean, it's pretty obvious he's not here because May December's kind of been shafted at the BAFTAs. But I think, again, as much as I love Maestro and The Holdovers are like the 2. I agree with you. I think those are the 2 that could be swapped out for literally any of the ones we've listed. I wouldn't be mad if like Barbie and Killers got in, but then Past Lives got omitted. Like any of that list, I would be happy going in for those 2. I would like All of Us Strangers to stay though, because it is really well directed, and I just love that film too much.
No, that's but also you kind of want that from BAFTA. It's the British Academy. Put one of the British films in. It's not got the budget. Listen, we all know who's going to be winning Best Director, and he's getting a fellowship. Or to announce that, I think it was very peculiar to announce that. I guess they wanted to announce the fellowship before the nominations, so that they couldn't do the nominations. Then say, guess who's going to get a fellowship too? Like it's. I'll be honest. Nolan's my favorite director. I think he's too young to be getting BAFTA fellowship. I understand the timing. You look at his career; he's maybe just hit the peak point, the Oppenheimer box office, the IMAX, everything. I get it 100%. I just think the man's just turned 50. Like he's been directing for sort of 22 years. 25 years. Sorry, I think he's too young. That sounds so horrible.
I know exactly what you mean.
I know it's not a career thing, but I just think not the year he's going to win everything properly. Do it later. But anyway, different conversation. But best film: Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. How of your 5 best film nominees do 2 of them not have Best Director nominations.
Yeah.
For Poor Things and Killers to be nominated across the board, and you've left out the directors, I think it's peculiar, and I don't. My logic with award season always falls this: if everyone's going to get, if you're getting nominated for every single category but director, and you're getting best film, that is almost an insult because you're the one that's hired them all, you're the one that's directed them all, you're the one that's created the environment and done everything, put everything into place. But you yourself is not good enough, but everything else you did was. And I've always struggled with that. I know someone will say, well, that's not what best director is. But I do think the director is responsible for everything. I just find it bonkers. It's the Scorsese one still, really. I mean, Poor Things, yes, as well. But listen, again, I think Oppenheimer wins this hands down. BAFTA. I think I've been more confident as BAFTA success than its Oscars for the last year. But any comments, sorry, before I just keep meandering?
Again, I kind of agree with you. What's the limit for best film in terms of how many they can nominate?
Just 5 at BAFTA, whereas the Oscars is now a flat 10. It used to be min 5, max 10. Now it's just 10. So it is a very strong year, though. It's an incredibly strong year. Some people are, where's Barbie? Where's this? I'm like, I would save those for the Oscars chats because if some of these don't make that 10, then rightfully. But I certainly the 5 they've listed, there's going to be great ones missing out because it's been probably one of the strongest years in award season in quite a while, if I'm being honest, at least from my perspective.
I mean, in terms of what's here for best film, I mean, like you said, Killers being here, but then Scorsese not being director just makes literally no sense. Same for Poor Things. I mean, I'm happy with that lineup. I can't comment on The Holdovers or Anatomy of a Fall or Poor Things, but I mean, I don't know if this is like too bold to say, but like I would probably, considering like the award bodies, I'd probably swap The Holdovers for Maestro, and that's not me being. I'm just purely going off of like, or even All of Us Strangers, like going off of what's been nominated in Golden Globes and other stuff that's already happened. Maestro does tend to keep sneaking into the best film category, even though it's not got a chance of winning. It always keeps sneaking at the bottom. And The Holdovers kind of does and kind of doesn't. So I'm surprised Maestro is not there. And The Holdovers is. But that's just me kind of thinking out loud a little bit.
No, I get that too. And The Holdovers, I know it opens in UK cinemas tomorrow, but it's a weird one for me. Not just Alexander Payne stuff. I really enjoyed the film, and I liked the performances. But I don't think it is. I don't think it is. It should be up for best film off a few of the others.
Would you say it's like it's a strong film, but when you compare it to what else is nominated, it just kind of is?
Like it's not in that front 5. It's maybe in positions like 6 to 15, if that makes sense. Like, and I really enjoyed it. I just don't think its quality as a film is up there, but its performances are. And I feel like the performances are what's carrying it, and so is the hype and. I know the UK has been shafted anyway, getting Christmas film out on the 19th of January, make it make sense. But it's a film that I think no one's going to hear of outside of film Twitter. It's one of those. Like I talk about this, not that the best film needs to be a popular film, but I just feel like there's this like online bubble that people can't escape, and it doesn't compute when something's when a general audience is like, "What's this? How dare you not know what this?" Black and white 4:3 aspect ratio film was from 25 years ago that 8 people watched. The arrogance that some film fans have astounds me. And I'm not saying the Holdover fans are arrogant, but this, I think anyone thinking it's got a chance over Oppenheimer really needs to get in the game and rise up, because it's not. It's like the Iron Claw. The Iron Claw's getting a lot of hype, but if they'd have waited a year. Could be the front runner by having a full award season, but it's just literally been handed in late, which is why apparently it's not getting stuff. And I will never forget the tweet which said it's Little Women but for men, and that's literally like that's how I've tried to describe it to everyone that's asked me so far. I know about this real life story, and that actually does imagine like it would be an Oscar type film, but can't really moan about something that hasn't been. But that being said, though, we've gone through it all. We've gone a lot longer than I thought. We've gone an hour and 20. So, firstly, thank you for jumping on. Before we round this off, obviously the BAFTAs were a few weeks ago. We've got the Oscar nominations next week, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff on the channel for Oscars. So, people watching at home, do let us know your thoughts on BAFTAs. Let us know what you want to see Oscar season. If you want us to talk about categories rather than it as a whole. If you want to see us do videos and different things, we're open and we're pretty flexible this year of what we want to do. So there's a lot more open doors for chatter for stuff like this. And when we announce videos such as that, you can get us on our social medias, linktree.com/cinemasavvy's got our letterbox, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Redbubble link for merchandise. It's been one of those evenings. It's been a lot of fun chatting this. It's almost like therapy, isn't it? Just going through a whole load of films that we've got no real attachment to, but a lot of attachment to internally. And figuring out who could win something in 4 weeks' time. So we will be doing a video on the BAFTAs. Whether we do it on the night or the day after is TBC. Depends on that broadcast. And a load of other variables. So that is going to do it for this video. What else is happening on the channel? Well, our review for the Pacific drops tomorrow because Masters of the Air starts next Friday, the 26th. And every review was going to come out each Friday. And then they've changed the review embargo to Wednesday, the 24th. So the Fridays are pointless uploads now. But if you're a fan of that series, if you're a fan of, I don't even know what we call them at this point, the War Anthology trilogy. We can't even call it like the HBO, like the Gary Gertz verse, maybe. Who knows? But it's a series I'm very much excited for. Barry Keoghan is going to be in that series, as well as Austin Butler, who spoke about both of them today. And I cannot wait to see what else happens. But Aaron, what videos have you got coming up that you can talk about that we can push on your channel?
Oh, blimey. Well, funnily enough, I don't know when I'm going to get around to doing it, but I am planning to do a video talking about Band of Brothers and the Pacific in one video, because I've not had a chance to talk about. They're two of my favorite shows of all time. Never had a chance to talk about them. And now with Masters of the Air coming out, I'm like, okay, this is my perfect opportunity to do that because I just love those two shows so much. So that at some point soon. I've got a new episode of what's the series that I do? For the Love of Film. That's what it's called. I haven't done one since the start of December. I've got one of them coming out, which is featuring Ren, who I think has been on this channel before.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah,
Renate Vieira, legend.
Yep, and yeah, that in terms of stuff in the near future, that's all I can think of. I'm kind of blanking a little bit as well.
That's okay. Put you on the spot with these, but everybody, Aaron, you've been on a few other videos now, so thank you so much. If you want to do any more Oscar videos, we might catch you at another one. Who knows? But everybody at home, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.